In October of 2023, a group of 12 Americans traveled to Guatemala for a Be the Change yoga retreat next to beautiful Lake Atitlan, the deepest lake in Central America. Among them was Nancy, a 29-year-old from California, who had attended the same retreat the year before and was so excited about it that she decided to return in 2023. Around 10:30 in the morning on October 19th, 10 members of the group kayaked out onto the lake. Just before reaching the center of the lake, a video was taken of Nancy smiling and waving at the camera, paddling a few feet from shore, and joining the rest of the group. Sadly, that was the last time Nancy was seen. After the video ended, the group split up, and Nancy headed toward the center of the lake with Christina, another California woman. What happened next varies depending on who tells it. According to the owners of the kayak rental company, the group returned from the excursion a few minutes later, visibly agitated. One person was missing, Nancy. No one seemed to want to talk about what had happened, and the group headed straight back to the retreat without even paying for the kayaks. According to some witnesses, Christina was particularly shaken and had to be calmed down by the others. From there, things got weird. Although the group was supposed to stay in Guatemala for a few days, they anticipated their return home just 8 hours after the hike. According to Eduardo, the retreat organizer, the group immediately reported Nancy missing to the police, but officers say the report was not filed until 24 hours later. When Eduardo notified Nancy's family, he did not specify that she had disappeared in the lake, suggesting that she may have moved permanently to Guatemala. Local authorities began searching for Nancy, but after 72 hours, the search was called off. Nancy's family then began privately funding the investigation. Meanwhile, they attempted to contact Christina, the last person to see Nancy, but she refused to speak to them and only provided a statement a month later through her attorney. Christina said that she and Nancy had crossed paths in the deep end of the lake, and that Nancy, without warning, decided to dive in. Despite the rough water and the lake being over 1,000 feet deep, Christina warned Nancy not to go in, but Nancy didn't listen and dove in, letting the kayak drift. Christina tried to retrieve the kayak, but when she returned, Nancy was gone. Not wanting to risk her life, she ran back to shore and screamed for help, but it was too late. Oddly enough, the police said Christina had cooperated fully, but when Nancy's family sought corroboration, they found no evidence of her testimony. Meanwhile, allegations began to circulate that Nancy had not been wearing a life jacket. The kayak owners clarified that this was false, explaining that Nancy had chosen not to wear one, even though she had been offered one. The family, frustrated by Christina's silence, publicly released her name, leading to her receiving death threats from around the world. The case attracted a lot of attention on TikTok and Facebook, with users spreading Christina's address and number, creating a climate of tension. As the case spread, the wildest theories began to emerge. There was talk of a cult sacrifice or a hate crime due to Nancy's Asian descent. The suspicious behavior of the group, which had not immediately reported the disappearance, fueled the accusations. To this day, many witnesses have not yet given statements, and there are rumors that the group bribed Guatemalan police to leave the country. However, there is no definitive evidence of this. Personally, I believe that Christina is telling the truth, and that the group had no responsibility for Nancy's death. Although their behavior was questionable, it is understandable that they were nervous, being in a foreign country without knowing the language or local procedures. However, their silence has left much room for doubt. Night of May 27, 2018, Spencer Mugford, age 20, met up with her friend Sophia McKenna in the parking lot of the University of Connecticut Avery Point, where Spencer was a student. Sophia was in a toxic relationship with Austin Cordova, which had gotten worse over the previous few months. According to Sophia's mother, Austin was seeing someone else, so Sophia began seeing other guys as well. When Austin found out, he went to Sophia's apartment, tried to break down the door, and threatened to kill her. After this incident, Sophia began spending more time with Spencer, whom she met while working at a local spa. The two had a brief relationship but remained friends. On the night of May 27th, they met in the parking lot and took a small, mastless sailboat from the university, heading to the New London Ledge Lighthouse, a popular tourist attraction in Connecticut that is known for being one of the state's creepiest buildings. Around 1 a.m., Sophia used Spencer's phone to upload a video to Snapchat of Spencer rowing, and the two were in good spirits, joking that the lighthouse was still far away.
Yo, we're out here in the ocean with us. That is the land. Like, we still have to get to there. Wait, where? Oh, we're almost there.
Around 2 a.m., Spencer posted a photo of Sophia in front of a "Do Not Trespass" sign at the lighthouse on Snapchat. That was the last time they were seen. The next day, Austin contacted Sophia's mother, concerned that he couldn't locate her. Sophia's mother, Michelle, noticed that she had received several calls from an unknown number between 2:05 a.m. and 2:09 a.m., which she later learned was Spencer's cell phone. Fearing the worst, Michelle reported her daughter missing, and the Coast Guard launched an official search. The search revealed Sophia's car in the university parking lot, with her phone inside. A shirt of Spencer's was found tied to a mooring at the lighthouse, but the boat was gone. Austin and his father began a private search and, flying over the area, discovered the overturned boat near Truman's Beach, about 13 miles from the lighthouse. Unidentified fingerprints were found, but were never analyzed. On May 28th, the Coast Guard called off the search due to bad weather. On June 8th, 11 days after she disappeared, Spencer's body was found by a fisherman in the sea, in a different direction from the boat. The autopsy determined that Spencer had drowned with traces of alcohol and THC in his body, but no signs of violence. Sophia, however, was never found. Despite Spencer's death being officially declared accidental, many people speculated on dark theories surrounding his death and Sophia's disappearance. Some suspected Austin was involved, but Sophia's mother did not believe he was responsible. One of the most accepted theories is that the boat broke free during the night and that Spencer drowned trying to retrieve it, leaving Sophia alone at the lighthouse. Some suggest that someone may have rescued her and then kidnapped her, but this is considered unlikely due to the time of day. Another theory spreading on social media is that there was an argument between Spencer and Sophia that ended in tragedy, but videos from that evening show that the two were on good terms. To this day, Sophia's disappearance remains an unsolved mystery, although police and her family believe she may have drowned following the accident. It is unclear whether she tried to save Spencer, accidentally fell into the water, or whether something else happened that night. On April 20th, 1989, Peggy Buer was driving on a country road near Circle, Montana, when a car in the oncoming lane came speeding toward her. Peggy avoided the collision, but the car behind her, driven by Carol White, was struck head-on. Shocked, Carol got out of the car and saw a blonde woman in her 30s who remained silent and stared at her with a blank expression. Peggy went back to check and saw the woman climbing over a fence. The police identified the woman as Patricia Manan, age 38, of Bozeman, Montana, and began a search. But Patricia disappeared without a trace, except for some footprints that disappeared about a mile from the accident. Patricia was headed to her parents in Pittsburgh, and the day before she had asked to move back in with them because of stress. Her parents agreed, on the condition that she see a therapist. It is unclear why she was in Circle, an off-route town. Over the next few days, several people reported seeing her at various rest stops, describing her as confused and looking for rides. By June, over 25 sightings were reported to her parents, who traveled to Montana in hopes of finding her, but were unsuccessful. In September, Patricia reportedly spent the night at a couple's home in Victor, Montana, and disappeared again the next day. In the meantime, her parents found a disturbing self-portrait taken shortly before she disappeared, in which Patricia stared blankly at her reflection. This was the last known photograph of Patricia. To date, more than 100 people have reported seeing her, but authorities have never been able to locate her. Theories about her disappearance vary. One of the most popular suggests that Patricia suffered from amnesia after the accident, perhaps due to stress combined with a head injury, which would explain her disoriented behavior. Another theory is that Patricia caused the accident as a suicide attempt, although this conflicts with the fact that she had an appointment with a therapist. Some think she may have drowned in a nearby body of water, despite numerous sightings. Given the time that has passed, we will likely never know what really happened to Patricia Manan, leaving this case among the strangest and most disturbing disappearances in history. Around 9 p.m. on September 26, 2014, a woman named Kin Louder made a frantic call to 911, reporting a fight in her apartment building's clubhouse. When asked if weapons were involved, she claimed to have heard gunshots. When police arrived, they found a wedding party full of happy guests and had a hard time believing Kin's claims. According to the police report, one of the guests admitted to lighting a firecracker, which Kin may have mistaken for a gunshot. Oddly enough, a few hours later, Kin called 911 again but hung up before the operator could answer. A few minutes later, the police called her back and noted that she seemed very confused. Although officers had trouble understanding what she was saying, Kin confessed that her roommate thought she was becoming paranoid and delusional. Shortly after 8 a.m. the next morning, Kin called the police again, and this call is often called one of the most disturbing recorded and publicly available.
When I have an intruder at my house,
Repeat the address for verification.
they're stealing from my house.
Okay, say your address one more time. I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Get the out of my house.
Okay, do you know who this person is?
No, I don't. I just know that there's an intruder in my house.
You don't know who they are.
No, I don't.
Were weapons involved or mentioned?
They're not talking or responding. I'm just telling them to leave so I can hear them taking things.
So you haven't seen them, you can just hear them?
Yes, correct.
In the recording, Kin can be heard telling the operator that there is an intruder in her apartment, but then contradicts herself several times, starting to say things that don't make much sense. At one point, her roommate Carol enters the room, confused by the accusations of a break-in. Kin then says that the previous night she saw several people spying on her through the window, apparently intent on breaking into the house.
Okay, where exactly are you?
I'm in the back bedroom. Carol,
Where did
lock
the
your
suspect
door.
enter the building?
There's only one door. Get out of my house.
Is there anyone else in the building who belongs there?
Yes, there's 6 apartments.
Okay, is there anybody else in your apartment that should be there?
I believe she is here. I have a roommate. Hey, Carol, lock the door. There's something down there. Where? Come here. Here. They might have left.
Okay, what's going on now? They've left now?
Yeah, so I'm just going to look and see if anything's been taken. Someone opened the door, and I heard them come in. Don't do that, Carol. There's no door still locked. It's not locked. They must have a key or something. Because when I took the dog out, I heard people talking. And there was people last night, like, sitting outside the window. And so they, like, were scoping us out or something. Why is the door still locked? Well, I can't explain that, but I heard, like, 2 people talking.
despite Carol pointing out that the apartment door had been locked the entire time, which would have made it impossible for anyone to get in. Kin was still convinced that there had been an intruder. That evening, around 6 p.m., the apartment building's security cameras caught Kin walking barefoot in the rain toward a small creek near the entrance to the apartment building. The footage showed Kin with her dog, walking away from the creek and back toward the apartment. Shortly afterward, she was seen running back toward the house as if she were running away from someone. Tragically, that was the last time Kin was seen alive. Later that day, she disappeared, leaving her phone, dog, shoes, and wallet at home. During the investigation, Kin's family revealed that she never left her dog Phyllis alone for more than an hour, even taking him to special events such as weddings and graduations. From the beginning, police assumed that Kin was suffering from mental illness, although the initial search was fruitless. Just 2.5 months later, on December 1st, her body was found in a storm drain by a crew from the city of West Valley, partially hidden by vegetation. Due to the length of time she had been in the water, it was difficult to determine the cause of death, which added to the mystery of the case. Kin's family claimed that there had been a criminal act, but the police were unable to confirm anything due to the state of decomposition of the body. What makes this story even more strange is that the body was found very far from where it was assumed Kin had accidentally fallen into the stream. The stream was shallow, and even with the heavy rain, it seemed unlikely that the body could have been washed that far without encountering obstacles. Authorities attributed Kin's death to an accidental drowning due to a psychotic break, but several details don't add up. First, Kin had no history of mental illness. Although she had been somewhat depressed in recent months due to difficulty finding work, her loved ones described her as stable and relatively happy. However, in 2014, Kin lost a job at a school, and shortly before her disappearance, she had been turned down for another job opportunity, which may have worsened her emotional state. Some events in Kin's past may have contributed to her mental state. 3 years after her graduation in 2006, her twin brother accidentally killed their uncle while they were both high on drugs. Although this event left her distraught, Kin seemed to remain stable and showed no signs of mental deterioration. There are two main theories about what may have happened to Kin. The first is that she had a sudden psychotic break due to stress, and that she walked in the rain until she fell into the river. However, no one has ever reported seeing her walking down the street on the day she disappeared. The second theory is that although Kin was paranoid, she was not mistaken about someone following her, and that she may have been the victim of a crime. Either way, without further evidence, the Kin Lowder case remains shrouded in mystery. On September 12, 1987, a 50-year-old security guard and maintenance man named Dale Cater went to work as he usually did at the Corning Glass Works in Bradford, Pennsylvania. At 11 o'clock at night, he began his night shift as a weekend security guard. The next morning, around 7 o'clock, the day shift guard named John Lindquist arrived to relieve Dale, but he was nowhere to be found. John immediately went to the cafeteria to see if Dale was there, but found only his lunchbox with the food still inside. Oddly enough, a few minutes later, Dale's truck was found in the factory parking lot with his keys, a pack of cigarettes, his backpack, and an empty gun holster still inside the vehicle. Sensing something was wrong, the police brought search dogs into the factory to find Dale. Shortly thereafter, the dogs followed Dale's scent to the second floor, where the glass furnace and some very valuable platinum pipes were located. This was a rather strange discovery, considering that Dale rarely went to that part of the building and had no reason to be near those pipes. It was then that the factory manager decided to check the security footage from the previous night, and what he found was rather disturbing. The footage you see now is a reconstruction of the incident, as the original footage has become unusable due to degradation over time. The reconstruction, based on careful research, faithfully reproduces the original content. In the video, the manager saw a masked man wandering around the factory, apparently exploring the building. Shortly after, the man rushed to the second floor, where the platinum pipes were located. Seconds later, Dale was seen talking to the masked man and appeared to be forced out of the room. As the man dragged him out by the arm, Dale looked straight at the security camera. At one point in the video, the masked man was shown dragging a heavy bag out of the building with a hand truck. That night, $250,000 worth of platinum pipes were stolen from the factory, and Dale Cater was never seen or heard from again. After the mysterious disappearance, several theories were put forward as to whether Dale was an innocent victim or an accomplice to a high-stakes robbery. According to Dale's family, it would have been extremely unusual for him to participate in such a crime, as he was not the type of person prone to such acts. He was described as an honest, loyal, family-loving man with a good sense of humor, who was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. It is possible that Dale noticed the masked man during his shift, and while investigating, the man coerced him into cooperating, then killed him. If this theory is true, the bag the man was carting out of the building may have contained Dale's body, along with the platinum pipes. However, other factory workers had a completely different opinion based on their experience with Dale. For starters, whoever removed the platinum from the tank knew the layout of the factory very well. They knew exactly where the most valuable materials were located, as well as all the tools needed to quickly extract the pipes and leave the area undetected. Although Dale had never stolen anything and was generally a good person, he had gotten into trouble with his employers for being considered a slow worker and having a bad attitude. During the investigation, it was also revealed that Dale was approximately $40,000 in debt after being demoted from his position as a skilled laborer, a demotion that had forced him to take a $7,000 pay cut. This led some to believe that he may have been involved in the crime, which would explain how the masked man knew the factory so well. Despite this, Dale's family maintains that he had several legal ways to obtain the money before resorting to a high-profile, premeditated robbery and disappearing without a trace. One of the elements that makes the disappearance so ambiguous is Dale's behavior in the security camera footage. It is difficult to determine whether he was actually forced to leave the room with the man or if he was simply faking it. When he looked at the camera, it is unclear whether he was silently asking for help or if he was making a defiant gesture towards his former employers. To this day, it is unknown whether Dale was killed after witnessing a crime against his will or whether he was an insider who abandoned his family for money.